Hello everyone and welcome to our class today. Remember in our last class we talked about estimation and approximation, okay? And what we simply said was those are just simple forms of shortening long numbers to the required number. When we say required, usually we will be given. We might be told to get to a particular number of decimal places or a particular number of tens, or whichever way, but just follow your questions and you get your answer. Okay, now our question today, or what we'll be talking about today, is looking at approximation to the nearest whole number, approximation to the nearest tens, nearest thousands. Remember when we talked about place value in our first class, remember I gave a number 4132. Don't forget the number. Okay, now we said the last number is units, this is tens, this is 100, and this is thousands. Now we have been we'll be told to approximate to the nearest tens. If it's to the nearest tens, this is our nearest tens. Okay, to the nearest 100, this is our 100. To the nearest 100, this is our we'll be looking at this. The nearest tens, we'll be looking at this. The nearest thousands, we'll be looking at this. Then we'll see how to go about it. Okay. Right now, let's look at some questions. Let's see a question. Approximate 978 to the nearest A, 10, B, hundreds. Okay, approximate this number to the nearest tens and the nearest hundreds. Okay, now remember, we write out the number 900 and let's give it space. Write out the number 978. Let's remember how to do our place value, where this is our unit, this is our tens, and this is our 100. Now the first question here says approximate it to the nearest 10. What number is our 10 here? This is our 10 positions. 10 position is 7. 7 is the number in our tens position, not tenth. Tens, T-N-S, 10 position. Okay, now this is what we're looking at, this number. Now remember again that our 7 is in this 10 position, but what? We always look at the number behind it. We always pay attention to the number directly behind it. The number directly behind it is 8. And in our last class, remember we talked about approximation. If a number is greater than, let's say number A is greater than 5, what do? You round it up to what? 1 and add it to the number in front. Okay, now so this is 978, but this is the number in our 10 position. This is our 100 position. We do not touch it. We will still leave it 9. This is our 10 position, 7. But remember, this is 8, and 8 is greater than what? 5. So what do? Round it up to 1 and add it to our 7. 7 plus 1 will give us 8. This is 8. What do we do to that position? We'll put a 0. Then write what? To the nearest tens. Now someone will ask, did I move this 8 to this place and just put 0? How did I get it? Why did I move this 8 and I threw the 7 to my village? I don't know. Did I take this 8 to my village? Or sorry, the 7 to my village and I just put my 8 here? No. We're simply following the mathematical principle. I'll do another example and you see that I'll change the numbers so it doesn't get you confused. Okay? Now this is what we have done. We've gotten 980 to the nearest tens. Now big question says to the nearest hundreds. What number is in our hundreds position here? It is this 9. This is our focus. Okay? Now this is our focus. We have 9. This is very, very interesting. Okay, now looking at the number behind it, the next number directly behind 9 is what? 7. Again, if our number is greater than 5, what do? We round it up to 1 and we add it to what? The number in front. Now, 9 plus 1, what does it give us? It will give us what? 10. So, in that position, we have 10. Then in these other positions, what do? We put our 0 to the nearest 100. No, this answer is going to give us a lot of debate because someone will say this is 1,000 already. Why? Why is this the nearest hundreds? Remember, this is even this 78 is far above half of what? Half of 100. Okay? So when we round it, we have to round it up. Like we have seen, rounded it up to 1, and we added to this place and gave us 1,000. I'll go over this again, then probably give us one more example, then remove. Okay? The question again says, approximate 978 to the nearest A, 10, B, hundreds. Now, in our first class, we talked about place values. That is, the meaning of each digit in a number. Okay? Now, in this number 978, we know that our 8 is in units position, 7 is in tens position, and our 9 is in what? Hundreds position. So now our question says, estimate to the nearest 10. What number is in our 10 position? It is 7. Now in approximation, in estimation, the major, or rather one of the most required rule, or one of the most followed rule, or let me put it that way, is when the number is greater than 5. So the number is greater than 5, you round it up to what? 1 and add to the number in front. Okay? Why? Because this is the required place. This is the required number we're looking for, or the required value we're looking for. Now we pay attention to the number behind it. The number behind it is 8. So we round it up to 1 and add it to this place. Now, what do we do to this place? We'll put a 0. It becomes 980 to the nearest tens. Okay? That is because 7 plus the one I got from rounding up this. So this 7 plus 1, yes, giving us 8. Now the next question says round up this number or approximate this number to the nearest hundreds. What number is in our hundreds position? It is 9. Have you seen it? It is 9. Okay? Now our 9 is in this hundreds position. This becomes our focus. Our 9 becomes our focus. Okay? Now, what do we do next? We will always check the numbers behind them. Always check the numbers behind them. Especially this. The number directly behind it is 7. And we know that when a number behind the required number is greater than 5, what do? We round it up to 1 and add it to the number in front. So rounding it up to 1 will give us 9 plus 1, giving us 10. So we've written out that 1 and 0. In these positions, what do? We write what? 0 and 0. It's that easy. I tell you, it's that easy. It's very simple. So do not get yourself overworked up as you solve. Right? We'll do just one more example so you would see the differences. Okay? Let's see a number. Approximate 273 to A to the nearest A, 10, B, 100. Nearest 100. Okay? Solution. Our number again is 273. Alright? What do? We always check for the place values. So for these three, our value here is units, this is tens, and this is hundreds. Okay, now the question first says find to the nearest 10. Find or approximate this number to the nearest 10. Like we saw in the first example, the number in our 10th position is 7. So this is the position we focus on. But we always pay attention to the number behind it. The number behind it, as we have seen or as we can see, is 3. And remember, our rule says if A or if the number behind the required one is greater than 5. But as you can see, it's less than 5. So what do? There's no need rounding up to 1 and adding. We'll just simply say, we'll round it down to 0. Okay? Round down this 3 to 0. We now have 270 to the nearest what? Nearest 10. Have you seen it? Round it down to 0 and just 7 remains 7. Okay, I'll write this out. 273 UTH give us 270 to the nearest 10. Alright, now for our next question, it says check or approximate to the nearest 100. What number is in our 100 position? It is 2. So this is our focus. This is our focus. The number 2, because it's in this 100 position. Now we'll check. Look at the numbers behind them. The number directly behind it is what? Is 7. The number after this is 3. Round this up to, this is already rounded down to 0, or round it down to 0. But now checking this, you can see that it's greater than 5. So what do? Round it up to 1 and add it to what? To our 2. When we round it up to 1 and add this to 2, 2 plus 1 will give us what? 3. What happens to those positions? Like we have seen earlier, we put what? 0, 0. Because we have rounded them down to 0. To the nearest 100. That's all. Okay, now a little recap. When you are doing or you are solving problems under approximation, you check your question. Always pay attention to your questions. This question here says 273. Approximate this number to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. Then first thing we do is we check for our place value of each digit in that number. We get our unit, our tens, and our 100. Okay, now what number is in the required position? 10 position, we can see is 7. So what do? This is our focus. We now round, we check the number directly behind it. This number here is 3. We round this down to 0 because it doesn't follow this rule. It's not greater than 5. Or I think it's greater or equal. It is greater or equal to 5. If the number is 5 and above, thank you. Please make that correction. If the number is 5 and above, that's from 5 and above. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then you can approximate to 1 and add it to the number in front. Okay, so we have 270. Why? Because this is not up to 5. Okay, we'll round it down to what? 0. Now becomes 270. That's 270 to the nearest 10. Now for the 100, that's the next question we say is round this to the nearest 100. Again, we check what number is in the 100 position. It is this 2. So what do? We'll map it out, but then we'll pay attention to the next number after it. Okay, next number is 7. It's greater than 5. What do? Round it down, up to 1 and add it to this 2. So we'll have 2 plus 1 giving us 3. In those positions, we'll simply put 0, 0. So we'll have our answer as 300 to the nearest 100. It's our approximation sign. Sorry. It's our approximation sign. I hope you have learned a lot today. I'd like you to join me in our next class. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at Easy Maths on YouTube. Have a nice day.